welcome to another episode of College Prep with Ohima Angie. This episode is about community college or 4-year college. There are so many pros and cons to both, and deciding which one works for you is literally up to you. I can't make that decision for you. Okay, it's between you and your parents or your guardian or whoever it is that you're deciding with, or your significant other. It is up to y'all what works for you. But keep in mind, there's honestly no bad choice. I do have a preference, which I will reveal at the end of the video, but my preference doesn't have to be your preference. There have been a lot of people who have chosen the other preference and been wonderful at it. And so you doing what is best for you, marvelous. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. So, community college versus 4-year institutions. So I will start with community colleges. So community colleges have various pros and cons. One of the pros is it is way more affordable. Community colleges, you can usually pay it with your FAFSA. You can afford to do it. It's pretty accessible. It is also very flexible of your time. You're able to work while going to community college. It is more open to different ages and all of that. And it is catered to everybody in the community. So it would be very beneficial to you if you do not want to leave the house, or you want to just save money and go to a community college, if that's your choice. It has smaller classes than a lot of the big schools. Mind you, if you go to a small liberal arts institution like I did, community colleges sometimes are too big. I live in Nova, which is in Virginia, and we have the Nova Community College. It's huge to me. The classes are huge to me. Mind you, it's me. I had very small classes. Some of my classes were 4 people, 5 people, which is fine for me because that's what I preferred. But they're usually, this is just say usually, smaller classes, so you get to have more individual conversations with your professor, unlike some big schools where you only talk to your TA and you don't talk to your professor. You for 2-year schools, you also get to not only have a job and all of that, you get to also do certificate programs or more vocational programs at these 2-year institutions. Some of these programs you finish and you make a lot of money. For example, the diagnostic medical sonography, you come back with like starting at 70K. Just saying. You can do LPN, various other certifications, IT certifications, that you can come out making a ton of money. So even if you finish your 2-year institution and you do not want to continue on with you don't want to continue on with your education, you can, if you get a good enough program, you can get a job right out and start making more than someone at a 4-year institution, which is a-okay. And again, it's very flexible, no matter what time and all of that. They usually have night classes, morning classes, weekend classes that are very helpful for people who are parents, or people who have full-time jobs, or people who just want flexibility to live their life, because why wouldn't you be out here and have your fun? Now, there are some cons. One of the major cons that I always see is resources. There is a lack of resources when it comes to community colleges. Keep in mind, 4-year institutions have endowments. They have people donating to them on the regular. They have alumni. I'm alumni. They expecting money from me. That's crazy. But a lot of times they have these resources that they can easily take advantage of and utilize in other aspects of for college. So, but a lot of times these resources are not as in-depth as 4-year institutions. Some colleges differ from others. It would depend what area you are, which 2-year institution you're in. There are also professors. So usually a lot of the community college teachers are master's degree holding. So if you want to do a lot of research and all of that, and not going against people with master's degrees and whatnot, but some people usually prefer getting taught by a professor or a PhD holder than a master's degree. And then this is not me going against anybody, because getting a master's, whew, hard and expensive. So I commend them to be able to do that. Another thing is also transfer credits are a pain, are an absolute pain that we don't look into. Transfer credits, if you're in certain schools, may be very easy. Some schools make it easy for community colleges, specific community colleges, to transfer your credits over. Some schools will be like, yeah, it's community college, I don't take any of those, I don't want it. And so then sometimes you're left in a position where you have to start all over if you transfer to a four-year institution. Four-year institutions. So there again, pros and cons to every decision you make. So some pros to four-year institutions are that they have more resources, and that's just the truth of the matter. They have more money, more resources to dedicate to their students. They're focusing primarily on students who are there for the 4 years and working whatever they want to do, 4 or 5, whatnot, and you're able to rotate even into their master's and PhD if if you get through the system. So they do have more resources. Not saying that community colleges don't have the counselors and whatnot, but the four-year institutions usually have more specific. You can have fellowship office, they have study abroad office, they have all these different offices dedicated specifically for these programs, where they'll be better attuned to help you in a lot of these things you might want to do, because they have more resources. Another thing that is near and dear to my heart is study abroad. I am a Gilman Scholarship alumna, and if you want a video of that, let me know below so we can talk about Gilman scholarships, their importance. I'm probably going to do a video soon. But studying abroad is something that I think is very important for anybody. I repeat, anybody to do during their college career. Knowing about it, freshman year, knowing what you want to do. I know people who were double majors in STEM and still studied abroad. Don't let them lie to you. There are scholarships out there. Again, that could be another video if y'all are interested, but there are scholarships available if you want to do it. But keep in mind that these four-year institutions literally have offices dedicated to study abroad, getting you scholarships, keeping in touch with you while you're there. They have these programs specifically where you're able to transfer your credits back. So there are a lot of positives, because being able to study abroad also requires you to plan out your 4 years meticulously. I was a double major. I had no room to study abroad, and I still made room to study abroad. I don't think that would have been the same if I went to a community college and transferred into a four-year institution, because I would have had to be making up some credits that my schools would not have accepted. So being able to go to a four-year institution allowed for me to study abroad, a place of my choice. And you can see my study abroad videos below. Professors will be available. Some people prefer having PhD holders teach them and do research with them and whatnot. In really big schools, you might not have access to your professor. You're going to be dealing with your TA. I went to a small liberal arts college, woo, and we had a lot of access to our professors. They knew our names. They sent us emails all the time. Why were you not in class? It's like, what are you worried about? I was asleep. Leave me alone. I don't do that. But that was my experience of being at a small liberal arts institution. So it depends what type of institution you go to. Let me know if y'all want a video on that, whether to go big, small, medium, how to choose all of that, the pros and cons of each type of institution. Scholarships that are available. Four-year institutions are going to have more scholarships available. A lot of times, two-year institutions, you're dealing with the government funding that you get for Pell Grant or loans, and that's how you're paying for it. Four-year institutions, majority of the time have a lot of scholarships. They're on scholarships, helping you find outside scholarships, scholarships associated with them. There's so many other ones. I know one of the main scholarship I went to school with. There were two. One was literally from the school giving me a grant, but outside of that, it was a scholarship that I applied for in the school. Once I got into the school, I just went to the website and started looking at scholarships I was eligible to apply for, and I started applying. And that's an option because a lot of four-year institutions, the bigger, the more scholarships available, and you're able to apply for more scholarships. And sometimes can make it even cheaper than going to a two-year institution like it was in my case. You also have the competitive sports teams and the extracurricular activities. You, not saying some two-year institutions do not, but a lot of times the community colleges do not have the same resources as some of the four-year institutions. If you're a musical theater extraordinaire like me, you want to make sure there's a good theater program. You want to make sure you're able to do as many clubs as you want, the African Student Union and all of that, and being actually playing an active part in your school was very important to me. Being a part of student government, I was a part of student government. All of these things are things you get at a four-year institution that you don't always get at community colleges. Another thing, other than being able to have 5-year masters, bachelor's to master's programs, or sometimes bachelor's to MD programs, bachelor's to PhD programs, bachelor's to JD programs, bachelor's to business programs, engineering, all of these are positives of four-year institutions. Those are amazing if you are able to cut down not only on cost, but cut down on your years on being in school just by going to a four-year institution that also has a graduate school that is very extensive. Then you have a lot more flexibility. Also, keep in mind that a lot of schools, if you are an alumni, so if you currently go to school there or whatnot, you get a scholarship for master's and you get a scholarship for PhD, and sometimes they prefer you. They know you're familiar with the system. And so that could be a safe space where you just stay in that school till you're done with school whenever you want to be done. So those are some pros. Here are some cons to four-year institutions. A lot of times they're more costly than two-year institutions, and that's just true on paper, right? So you're not getting those cheaper classes that may be one class for $500. One class might be $2,000 to $5,000. I don't know who determines that amount. It wasn't me, so don't look at me like that. But those make a huge difference, the cost. But this is where having good scholarships come into play. They sometimes have very large classes, huge, just like conference or like, huge classes. We've seen them. Again, I went to a small liberal arts institution, so this does not apply to me because, again, everybody knew each other. The president of my school knew everybody's name. She was just amazing. Thanks, Sarah Bolton. But outside of that, it is quite amazing how large these classes can be, and sometimes you just get lost in the crowd, and you're not getting access to your professors like you need. So how are you able to ask the questions that you need to ask? You're having to lean more on your TA than not. And then also some universities require for you to live on campus for your freshman or all of your years. Here is a negative. I went to a small liberal arts institution. Like I said, living on campus was mandatory unless you lived in the area, like your parents lived in the area. If your parents lived in the area, then it was okay. But if they didn't, you had to live on campus. And because the cost of living was cheaper outside, so they just wanted to keep everybody inside. It has its pros and cons. That could be a whole different conversation of living on campus or choosing not to live on campus. I liked living on campus because I liked the community we were able to build. So there are pros and cons of every situation. Another pro that I forgot was being able to TA or take advantage of some of the small things that we don't think about. I have not seen or heard of any community colleges that actually offer TA-ships and all of that. But a lot of times during four-year institutions, you're able to do take advantage of like being able to TA, being able to do all these things that help you decide on what you want to do in the future or what you don't want to do in the future. Which brings me to, at the end of this, what, in my opinion, is the best choice. Because remember, you get to decide what is best for you. And I've seen people succeed on either side. It is not a one size fits all for everybody. For me, personally, I always am gonna prefer a four-year institution because to me, the pros way outweigh the cons. They do for two-year institutions as well, but for me the four-year like edges out the two-year just based off of one thing. People forget that institutions of learning are sometimes not just about the classes but about who is teaching the classes. When you go to a two-year institution, and you decide to continue on, you have that for 2 years and then you continue on for 2-3 years at another institution. That's a break. That's a learning curve that you gotta relearn when you reintegrate to this new school. If you've been there for 4 years, you have 1 year to kind of find your feet, and then oh, I don't want to take that professor because I don't focus well with just lectures. I like seminar classes. Okay, I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna take that. I went through college without having to take most of the professors. That's just the truth of the matter. I was able to handpick professors that I knew I learned well with and fight to make sure I was in those classes because it was the best success for me. It wasn't just about, okay, I need to take this class, all of that. It was like begging professors like, please, I can't study unless it's you, please. But that made a huge impact for me. And so to me, all of these, being able to be in student organizations, which helped me get the job that I have now in academia, you want to make sure you make the right decision for you. And at the end of the day, whatever helps you thrive, whatever helps your mental health, whatever helps you is the best for you. So whether you choose to go to two-year institution, then a four-year, or just a two-year, or just a four-year, it is up to you. Just continue thriving, continue succeeding. Please feel free to subscribe, like this video. Let me know any other videos you want me to do in the future. You have a wonderful day. Bye.